Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today I want to do an update on how we're using chickens and gravity to create compost. So come check it out. So if you haven't been following our chicken church build here in the backyard behind our house, then I can link to a playlist here and you can catch up if you want. But a quick summary, the whole purpose and why we put a backyard flock in a fixed position right behind the house is our garden is down here where our mobile coop is. And the mobile coop will be moved out here probably within the month. So we can obviously get them out of the garden. They've done a great job this winter, taking care of any ground cover, any weeds, the mulch that we've put down. They've stirred it up really well, so it's in really great shape to be planted in here in a couple months. But this permanent position sits higher than the garden, so there's a slope that goes down to the garden, and we even did some excavating to kind of make more of a vertical cut there. So the plan was, if we have these chickens here, we want to use gravity and their ability to create tons and tons of manure to create a compost system that really requires very little work on our part. And it's actually starting to work the way that I want it to. We still got a long way to go, but let me show you. So as you can see here along the fence line, our poly net, that things further into the woods, of course, covered, the ground is completely covered with leaves. Here on this side, very little leaf action at all. And it's not that the chickens ate them, it's that they moved them on down the hill. So our electric fence has actually become kind of a catchment, a net that's catching all of these leaf bits and just kind of accumulating it here. And what's really cool is if I turn around this way, right here's our cut. That's where we want all of this to end up. So as they work this material down, right here at the cut is where we want to accumulate all of this debris, whether we make bins or whether we make a wall or just a catchment. That remains to be seen. But it's working in the sense that they're tilling all of that, just turning it. And of course the extreme slope that we have there is helping them move it down. But there's things we want to add to this to manipulate this even more. So right here, you can see this, our fence line is the very edge of our cut. I'm standing on the edge of what we excavated. If you go this way, you go into a pretty deep watershed. And obviously we don't want our material doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace, or eventually take down the poultry netting and put permanent welded wire in, and then even use some boards below at the bottom to be almost like a skirt or a rim board to be able to keep that material from going over the side. We also have the area around the sugar maple that's got a depression and of course this low spot here, so everything is gravitating this way. So just like a Plinko game that you see on The Price is Right, I'm dating myself I guess, we want to be able to funnel that down into particular spots. So where I think this good idea is paying off, dare I say evil genius, okay maybe not yet, is that this material, this leaf material, the chickens have only been here for about 2 months in the wintertime, and this leaf material has moved down substantially. I mean, you can kind of see the whole hillside's denuded of any ground cover whatsoever, which clearly is a problem. We're going to get to that here in a second. But the simple fact that with very little effort, these chickens have been able to turn all the leaf material, all their manure, they just keep turning it and moving it down further and further and further. So, but the issue we're seeing is obviously this is too effective, that it's moving too fast. So we want to put some barriers in place to slow that process down. And since we don't have any more leaves to add to this, now obviously we could go into the forest and rake a bunch up, but that's not the primary source I want to use. I want to use wood chips. We've got plenty of material to chip up. And of course, those chunky chips are going to break down a lot slower than leaves will. So yet another reason why we want to get things to slow down as they progress down the hill. So the plan will be to bring in wood chips on a regular basis. We'll load in wood chips here, and then on this side, on the front of the church, we'll probably start bringing in grass clippings when it's time to mow the grass. Kelly likes to bag the grass when she mows all around the house. I'm not allowed to mow around the house, so that's her gig. But we'll have that combination of greens and browns and just see how the chickens turn that up. So we're not to that point yet, but we want to get this infrastructure in place to be able to slow that process down when we do start dumping wood chips and grass clippings. So our slab pile here is getting pretty large. So it's probably time to go through it anyway. What I'd like to do with this large pile is chip it. At times rent a large chipper, chip it all up, and we've got wood chips. My 6-inch chipper can't handle the size of these slabs. But with this pile, I can go through and select some slabs that I think would be worthy of resawing. And you're just looking for something that's got a little bit of meat on the bone still, and we're going to stand it on the edge to true up those sides. So we'll get a collection here, and we'll put them, maybe 6, 7 of them at a time on the mill, and see if we can dog that down to clean up those edges. About 7 or 8, I believe. So let's go ahead and take that load up to the church. We got to go from here all the way up the mountain. So we'll take the scenic route. Ever have those days where you feel your butt's too wide to fit through the door? 10-foot long material in the woods doesn't work well laterally. So I didn't get it on camera, but when you drop a load of lumber from the bucket of your tractor, chickens are called chickens for a reason. They, of course, all just took off. So 2 of them got out, but we'll take care of that in a little bit. But I went around and just cleaned up some of the scrap. You can see that's what's piled up there. And just the exposed earth from that scrap, of course, they're having a field day there. But I'm going to start around the front here. We're dealing with a little bit of erosion in the super high traffic area, which is around the feeder and the pop door. So we're going to take care of that first. All right, so we've got our main retaining wall in, Again, this doesn't have any angle on it. It's parallel to slope or on contour. I can never remember exactly how that works. Anyway, it goes this way instead of that way. So the idea, of course, as I said, wood chips piled up against it. That's the starting point. Big piles of wood chips higher than that can cascade over. The chickens can get up there, they can claw it all down. It's just amazing how quickly they spread stuff out. I put a big pile of wood chips down here by the mobile coop, and they had that spread out in about 3 days. So I think we're going to see the same thing here. And I know a lot of you probably saying, oh, well, dummy, that's pine and that's poplar, just wooden stakes. They're kind of flimsy. That's going to rot out in a year or so. And I say, absolutely. We don't care. We want to promote that. You see how many scraps I have, slabs I have. And if this wood decays, if it invites carpenter ants, which we have tons of, termites we do have, but not as badly. Carpenter ants are probably the worst. But if that invites carpenter ants here and they start chewing on it, guess who's going after those carpenter ants? Yeah. So it's almost like an invitation for a buffet here, and they can work on that. If the face of that falls off in a year, I only get a year out of it, what am I out? I'm out a handful of screws. And I can come up and just put another slab in its place to patch that out. So in this situation, we actually want to promote decay. That's why I don't want to use treated. I don't want to use any of that type of stuff that's got chemicals in it or coat anything, because this is going to end up in our garden as compost. So it's crazy, you can see, I don't know if you can see in the shadow there, but the leaves already piled up against just in the last 30 minutes, because I picked up some boards that had some leaves underneath them that they hadn't gotten to. They've come through and scraped them down, and already they're piling up against this board here. So I think it's definitely going to do what we want it to do. It's just a matter of how quickly does it head downhill and how much labor do we have to put into turning it as we go. So I added another one here at a pretty strong angle over to the side. And the reason why is, of course, we don't want the material going over into the watershed. So this will be that first line of defense to stop it and hopefully redirect it. What I've got to figure out is how much is going to go over versus get pushed around. So the plan would be just to keep adding these and, of course, testing, moving them around, whatever we need to do as we go along. But, of course, I need wood chips in here first to see how that goes. So that's going to be our next project, is get some wood chips in here. Yeah, do a U-turn, and we're going to try to back it in here. Pretty big ditch.
Huh?
It's a pretty big ditch. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, now just pull all the way up and straighten it up, and then we'll back it straight in. All right, so earlier this winter, we had this big beach fall across the county road. Now, I'm not standing on my property, but my neighbor's property, but touch base with them, make sure it's okay that we chip all this up, because this huge beach had a massive canopy. When it fell across the road, of course, blocked the road. We couldn't get out, and then it all just ended up being piled here as me and another neighbor cut it all up. So we piled it all up here, and since it's on flat ground, we've had a ton of rain. Then we thought this would be the best place to start chipping. We should be able to get a ton of material out of this beach. And that's what Cam and I are doing right now, is chipping all this up. All right, so we got all that chopped up, chipped up. I thought it was gonna be 2 trailer loads, or actually 2 half trailer loads, because I wasn't anxious to pull the hill with as much mud as we have with a full trailer. But we're about 3/4. I think we'll be okay. But it's amazing just how much, this was a huge beach, and how much brush it takes to actually chip up to fill up a trailer. So come check and see what we got in the trailer here. So it's going to be a decent haul. Fortunately, it's not wet. Since it's fresh chipped, this beach has been down, been dead for about 3 or 4 months in lower humidity winter, then hopefully it'll be a bit lighter when I fill this up with the tractor of mulch that's been around for a while. It's got a lot more water in it. So we'll see how this tows. We'll get up on the hill safely, hopefully, and spread it out and see how the chickens go at it. Like a redneck tractor pull going up the mountain there. A little muddy, but we made it. What are you gonna do when you catch a mouthful, stupid? Can't get any traction.
You gonna splash me?
He's a big dumb animal, isn't he, folks? All right, so we got all that unloaded. It's a little disheartening to think a beech tree that size with several hours of chipping produces that little volume. But that's part of it, right? I know if I don't say this, I'll get 1,600 comments. Yes, we have put our name on chip drop. We reach out to the power company about chips, all that type of stuff. We're so rural that in the 20 years we've been here, that's happened once. So that's not a common thing for us. And transporting chips all the way from town is kind of defeats the whole purpose. So, okay, the sun is setting, so I thought go up and just see if the chickens have kicked around any of those wood chips. They've started to spread out against that main retaining area there. So while I'm walking up there, I want to do a quick announcement here. On May 22nd of this year, Kelly and I will be down in North Carolina at Sheridan Park Farm. Chuck has invited us to come down and be some guest instructors on his one-day pastured pig class that he hosts. He's done that last year, and this is his second year, and he's asked us to come join. And there's a limited amount of positions available, limited tickets. I believe he's going to cap it around 50. So if you would like to come down, hang out with us as we talk everything pastured pig, everything from getting started to turn it into a business, the marketing aspect of it, finding customers, all that type of stuff. that's what we're going to be discussing. So I'm going to put a link down in the video description there where you can click on it, go to his farm and website and be able to see all those details. So come join us if you can. So they've definitely started kicking through it there, knocking it around a little bit. The fact that these are fresh chips and chipped in the wintertime, so there's no green, they haven't been laying around, so there's no bugs, there's no little mycelia growing, any of that type of stuff. So it's not as appetizing, say, if it was a pile of wood chips that have been laying around for a while. But I think they're still going to be curious and kick through it. One thing I've realized is with this water and the amount of material we're talking about, I think we may, instead of having our permanent fence follow our netting, we may bring that over and run a line right down to that little blue spruce. Kind of tighten this up and not have as much wood chip material to cover, even if that means we got to reduce the number of birds we have in the chicken church. Then that maybe will help keep it from being too much an overload and keep me from having to spread thousands and thousands of cubic feet of wood chips. Keep doing updates, and I really think if I can meet the scale, I really think this is going to work to produce some great compost for our garden. All right, take care, everybody.